Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is the Spiritual Gypsy Tarot. Today's reading is just guidance from the universe. I have pre-prepared some oracle and we have this tarot deck here. There's a lot of energy today, so there is a lot of oracle, so I'm going to start with it. We have this card, which is Killed with a Living Death, which is the number 6 here, which is the number of the Lover's card in traditional tarot. There's some chains here, kind of has like zombie eyes looking here, kind of like it's being controlled by another entity. That's the general feelings that I get from the first glance, but I'm sure there'll be more that we will have as we get into it here. I'll put it here for now, but when I get more I'll have to move it, but that way you can see the cards as I'm talking about them. We have this Shadow Light card with loneliness and connection with the number 31, which is interesting because 4D connection is where we get other entities that tend to use us so that we can feel, so that they can feel what that we feel. It doesn't necessarily, it's always negative entities. There's positive ones also. This card is Crone in Wisdom. I was only trying to do one of each, but there was 2 of this one, which is etching cards here. So we have Deliverance here with number 40. So kind of like he's being untied or freed. Deliverance typically is like freedom from something. We also have Falling Apart with 23. So we have Mountain and we also have Lightning. Give me a moment, I'm going to adjust the cards here. Okay, and then we have this card, Hades with number 10, with Darkness, Transformation, and Shadow Self. Very intriguing here so far. Alright, I think you can see everything. Okay, we also have, there's 3 of this one, which is, it's a yogi deck, which to me kind of gives more in depth when it comes to chakras. We have Faith. With Faith is the absence of concepts and dreams, and that is kind of orange and yellow, so that might have to do with sacral and solar plexus, which you have orange over here as well. We have Beliefs. Failure is a mental process created by expectations of success. When these expectations have disappeared, every experience becomes a stepping stone towards true success. So we have some more orange here. So there's definitely a very strong hint at the sacral plexus here, or the sacral chakra. The fact that I said plexus though might have something to do with the reading. We will find out. Don't trade, this is happiness, don't trade the experience of life for a distant goal. Let your happiness come by being in the process of life, which allows you to experience the infinite depth of every moment. Now this kind of looks like lightning to me, which is a synchronicity there with the lightning on that etching card. Let me just move these slightly. I love getting as much in-depth information as possible, but I have limited space, so it's kind of aggravating in that sense. Okay, and then we have 2 chakra cards. We have Impatience in the throat chakra. We have Mysticism in the crown chakra. camera with me here. I apologize for that. Sorry about that. I fixed it and then I got some more room here. We have Babinsana, I'm probably saying that wrong, with Trust. There's also the moon up here. And I believe that's Neptune here. We also have like this dream catcher here. So there's that. And come on, camera. We have Gemini, Curiosity, Intellect, and Networking, which this is the second reading I've done today that Gemini has come out, and I shuffled very thoroughly. So there may be some strong Gemini energy going on right now. I wouldn't be surprised because of the synchronicities in life. And then we have the Climatitis, again if I'm saying that wrong, Climatitis Alpina, which is intelligence and mental beauty. Wisdom is the abstract of the past, but beauty is the promise of the future. Okay. Put that right there. Okay. I will have to put the tarot on top, but I want to start initially with the messages that I'm getting just from the Oracle. So there is some blockages between the sacral plexus and the throat chakra. And I think maybe, I said it again, sacral plexus. So the sacral chakra and the solar plexus and the throat chakra. And it's connected to a coming together in the crown. So a connection to your other selves or your highest selves and your lower selves. So we are connected with our highest and lowest versions of ourselves and everything in between. And this is a message from your shadow. It is giving you encouragement and it's saying to trust the process, and that you will be freed from this feeling of stuck. With this falling apart, I kind of get this stuck feeling, but there's this wisdom, this ancient wisdom that you hold within you. And this Gemini here is your shadow self is trying to communicate with you to help with this transformation of self and let you know that even when you feel lonely, you are not alone. You are not alone, and you are connected to not just other people, but also your other selves and to the universe and the divine. So that is the general information here. I don't want to go too deep until I have tarot cards. I first would like to ask about this sacral chakra and solar plexus issue here. Stronger sacral chakra than solar plexus. Solar plexus is pride and confidence. Sacral is passion and shame, guilt. With them both together, it may be that you have a lack of confidence due to a source of shame and guilt for you. But again, we're going to ask and get specifics. So we are going to ask what this block is in the sacral chakra and solar chakra. We have the Knight of Wands with impulsiveness. I'll put that here, but I can always lift them up to see the oracle cards. I apologize for having to use the sense of going on top of the other cards, but I have limited space as a mom. It could be, since I felt drawn to bring that up, that you might also be a mom, could be a pet parent too, or just someone with a lot of responsibility that you feel guilty and ashamed because you're not able to give yourself enough self-care or enough time. So maybe you're always going out of the house looking like a mess, or you're always having to pick up and you are always surrounded by chaos, and that guilt might be a source of lack of confidence for you. But that is just an intuitive thing because everything is relevant, and since I felt drawn to apologize for it myself. So we have this Knight of Wands with impulsiveness. We have the Seven of Cups with choices. I'm going to lift these up so that we can see the oracle as I go here. I am working on a better filming space, guys, as much as I can. But you know, diapers and stuff is more important. Okay. And then we have the Chariot with movement here. Okay. So, this Knight of Wands with impulsiveness. So we're dealing with an energy of someone who is very active and can't wait, is very impulsive in their actions. So really much is giving me like youthfulness. So you might be a mom or responsible for someone, or you might be an older sibling who takes on the caring role. I know that friends and things I've had in the past, a lot of time it's a responsibility of an older sibling to take on that so that the parents can work, because daycare is expensive, school is expensive, or just if it's a household where one child is favorited versus the other, like there's that inner responsibility between siblings. This is an energy of just there's somebody who has impulsive needs and is impulsive in their actions, kind of a youthfulness, like they're still learning to control their impulses, and like this, there's this person that you are caring for, and with this there are choices as to what you can put your cups in, or you feel restricted in your choices to what you can put your energy and cups into. Seven of Cups is emotions, but it's also energy, because your emotions fuel your energy, and we can get lost in those emotions of guilt and shame, and they can lead us to feeling more and more of those deeper, darker emotions. That's why you can drown in some of those emotions. So you have a choice here as to what you give your energy and your emotions to, and it is saying that there's movement there. And also I'm kind of getting black and white movement here because of the black and white in night and day in this Chariot with the movement. There's movement of duality here. Duality being this or that. I can only do this or that. And part of healing, on a healing journey and on a journey of ascension and gaining connection with your shadow and getting rid of ego, is learning that it's not this or that, it's this and that. The best example I can give for this is when you feel guilty, right, for not doing the dishes. Instead, see it as, I didn't do the dishes, but I was able to give my energy or able to make a memory that'll last, or I was able to teach something or have valuable time that I may not have got to give in otherwise. Instead of this verses of I can only do this or that, or I can do this and that, in another sense of I can teach the person, if it's a child, to do what I'm doing, or I can make it in a way so that they can do it with me, or I can see how one day I'm going to look back, and when I have more time to do those things that I'm feeling guilty for not doing, and wish I had the time back when all they wanted to do was be with me, kind of energy, because children, one day they outgrow that needing you, and then you have all the time in the world to cook and clean, and because they're out doing and living their life. So it's an and energy rather than black and white. It's an and it's the movement of in between here, which is passion and creativity, which is like the positive side of the sacral chakra. So kind of getting the sense of being creative in how you deal with this or that and those feelings that you're having. And a sense of like trusting the process and coming at it with this sense of curiosity like a child would. So coming up with creative solutions. And now being creative is very important in the sense that creativity helps relieve those negative emotions that you're having. And that could be where you have this throat chakra, because we create through our words, but there are multiple ways to create. And so it's saying have this curiosity. And I kind of like in this being mindful, but I'm kind of getting this sense of like Alice in Wonderland, right? Have the curiosity of someone who would be in Alice in Wonderland and look at everything through the perspective of you are down a rabbit hole and you are in Wonderland and anything can happen. And be as creative as you possibly can. Have a Mad Tea Party kind of sense of things. And that is the energy that I'm getting here, and that might be the mysticism. Diving deep into that wisdom that you have of being creative and coming up with different solutions for these problems instead of black and white. I kind of want to ask about that next, of like the guidance regarding this block, now that we know a little bit more about that. I'm going to, sorry for all the it's been a minute since I did a reading, and it's like the energy's there, but the words are struggling to come out. So that might be relevant also. You might be someone who has trouble speaking up for yourself. So this might be a sense of guilt to yourself of there's another person, or you could ask for help, but you struggle to ask for help. If you are that independent type, like you took care of your siblings or something like that growing up, it is harder for you to ask for help if you're hyper independent. And that might be why I'm struggling with the words here, because it might be something that you struggle with. And then when you reach the end of your line here with this impatience, you implode or explode because of all those words that you didn't say when you were asking for help. And so it comes out in anger, but it's really a cry for help. And now I'm not struggling with talking, so that may have been it. So let's dive in and ask about solutions for this blockage. A solution for this blockage. Well, that's very clear. We'll start with those. We have the Three of Cups with friendship. So kind of that asking for help, relying on other people, relying on, even if it's just your spirit team or your inner community of your creative drive, your curiosity, your way to think things through and be mindful. It's not necessarily always, relying on without. It can be relying within yourself. I do want to say that to be absolutely clear, that a lot of what we would project into our reality is stuff that we are dealing with in the inside. Now, that does not mean that for some of you it doesn't apply, especially for hyper independent people, to ask for help. And that is even asking yourself for help, knowing that you can't always do everything by yourself. That is a strength in itself. And then you have this Seven of Swords with betrayal. Kind of like your thoughts are betraying you, and that can happen with anxiety. I know this is not the card of anxiety, but we were talking about how you have these feelings of guilt and shame and not having enough time and not letting those words come out. It's kind of like and, kind of like your list of things to do, like I have to do dishes, and I have to pick up, and I have to make dinner, and I have to take a shower, and I have to get sleep, and I have to calm down, and I have books I want to read, and I have tasks I want to complete for my spiritual awakening, and kind of like those, there's like this, and this, and this, and this. And it's kind of saying, like, line them up. Don't be betrayed. Be mindful. Kind of like that curiosity. Have creative solutions here. And this networking is very much like reaching out for help. And again, it could just be your spiritual team or your inner community. It does not necessarily mean asking someone else for help, but it can mean that depending on how it resonates with you. We have this judgment. Forgiveness. This is forgiving yourself, showing yourself compassion and unconditional love. If this is about someone who is a parent, and you would forgive your child who is only 1 year old if they don't, as they are still learning right from wrong, if they crushed a bag of chips on the floor, right? You might get a little frustrated in the moment that you have to deal with that, but you know that they are still learning and accidents happen. And this is letting you know that you have to forgive yourself for things that you weren't able to do or lessons that you are still learning, because you did the best you could with the information you had at the time. And the biggest challenge is coming over that guilt and that regret that you have and that shame over, because as we open our eyes and learn, we realize that back then we did not necessarily do the right thing, but also part of the journey is like seeing your past self and forgiving them. Sometimes it is a lot easier said than done to forgive ourselves. We have the Four of Wands next. Four of Wands here is like that happiness, the happiness in actions. Happy occasions. So from this, I'm kind of getting like the sense of make every little thing you do a moment to be happy, regardless of thinking of what you're not able to do. Source or spirit, however it resonates with you, is saying find the joy in the chaos. Find the joy in that, like in that mysticism. Find the joy in the falling apart, and that's going to be your deliverance from this shame and guilt. It could be finding the way to laugh at the chips that got spilled all over the place. Finding a way to laugh at the fact that your child runs wild. I like to call my son sometimes the Sour Patch Kid, because he will bully you and he will be everywhere all at once, climbing, doing things everywhere, but then he will hug you and kiss you and make you feel like you're the only thing in the world. And so it's saying, like, find those moments in your life, even in the midst of chaos. Or, okay, so you're stressing about something. Maybe it's that you're not giving yourself enough care. Find the happiness in that moment of, okay, maybe I can't do my full shower routine, but at least I could wash my hair and my body. And so as long as you are making those strides and finding the joy in the smallest of things, it's going to lead to bigger healings for you and this bigger wisdom that you are gaining. We have the Queen of Cups, kindness. I really do feel like this is you here, and that it's saying to be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Like you have your cups right here, so just kind of let it flow. Let it flow. Let the chaos flow and fill your cup from the chaos, okay? And I kind of like, so in this forgiveness, you have this caterpillar, and then we have all these butterflies in your reading of transform the moment, okay? And just catch the flow. Catch the flow of the chaos. And then the final one here for the advice on how to heal this blockage. So I feel like this is your so this is kind of like light and dark shadow. This is like feelings versus your power, right? That's one of the polarities in life, is feelings versus power. Your feelings are a sense of power for you, and learning to discern them and what they mean and how you can use them to change and transform your life is a sense of power. But you cannot hold your emotions over anyone else, because in reality we can only control ourselves. So this is being in your power and catching the emotions as they come, being in just in the flow of the chaos, not diving deep too much into one emotion. So that would be, for example, going back to that guilt of not being able to clean the house as best as you'd like the day before. That is, okay, I got to enjoy laughter with my child or my friends, or I got to watch the show I enjoy, I got to decompress, or I got to read, or whatever it is that you got to do that was good for you at the time. Be thankful for that and mindful that there is no need, because those things are always going to be there. There is always going to be chaos. There's always going to be a bill that needs to be paid. There's always going to be something going on in the world. There's always be something that you have to leave undone at the end of the day. And what this is saying, be mindful of the power that you have by being mindful and knowing that some emotions that you feel may not be your own, and to differentiate what's within and what's without, and also not letting those emotions that seem overwhelming overwhelm you. Your shadow is saying, hey, I'm your friend here, and when I give you those emotions, it's because I want you to reflect. This is kind of like the mirror here. Reflect on those emotions with kindness and use that as a sense of power to discern how to make the best of this moment, how to make this a happy moment. And that's the advice that you're getting here for that blockage. And it could be as easy as just talking about it, because there is that throat chakra here. But it also could just be a sense of being creative. Since we do have that sacral chakra, indigenous culture believed that creativity was the way to prevent violence. Not enough creativity led to violence. And they said that creativity was the best preventative cure, like preventative thing medically that they could do, and that they would rather prevent things than cure them. So in this sense, it is saying being creative and curious about how you can approach things and making the best of those moments is the way that you can transform that shame and guilt that you are having and turn it into a sense of passion for your creativity, and to connect with that inner wisdom you have of creativity and your divine power. And you can free yourself from this prison of emotion that you have. And that is kind of the shadow self of like, you can transform the thing yourself. You can transform the moment yourself. And that's what I see. If you liked the reading, or if you didn't, leave me a like or dislike or feedback of any kind. If you'd like to follow along for more readings as I'm growing the channel, feel free. Otherwise, thank you for being here and thank you for existing.